Game of Thrones, a saga that made the viewers believe in the existence of all kingdoms, existence of dragons and army of the dead. A show that gave us unforgettable episodes that ever aired in the history of television series. No one has escaped from its fandom, just like the two girls who wanted to visit King's Landing at any cost. A total distance of 858 kilometers from Padova, Italy, change of two trains and two buses with a transit of 3 long hours was what we opted for. The exhausting journey was so worth it when we began to see the blue west of all colors in the Adriatic Sea. Our visit was in February 2020, particularly off season where we got tickets and rooms for cheaper prices. Due to time constraint, we only had 2 days and a night planned for the city tour. We stayed in the old town that has ancient walls on one side and the lush green islands on the other, and also where most of Game of Thrones was shot. We reached Dubrovnik at 8 in the morning and rested for a couple of hours and took a cab and went to top of hills. However, one can also take a cable car which was not in operation during our visit. The best of the city, islands and the sea, watching the sunset right away is probably the best time of the day to visit the hills. Hello from King's Landing. After an hour, we returned back to Old Town and took a walking tour by ourselves in the alleys of the city. One thing we wanted to find out was Game of Thrones store to take some souvenir back home. Within some blocks, we found this that we gazed for minutes. The sway of wind waves in the sea, the alleys that looked almost the same, and above all, the fact that we were roaming King's Landing had a rush going inside us. Day 2.
Hi, day 2. And we're going on a tour. Jyoti tour.
2 was the Game of Thrones city tour, which was the whole idea behind visiting Dubrovnik. And the city welcomed us with this. The tour started at 10 in the morning and we had an amazing guide who told us nitty-gritty about the show, behind the scenes, and gave us the best explanation.
All around this fort there was a lot of scenes filmed everywhere. Wherever you go you can find something that was filmed inside. Like right here in front of us we had a moment when Lord Baelish approaches Cersei. We get a clash of two egomaniacs. And when they're filming a scene like this all you see around, they can easily remove that stuff. Even these here, they look like something old, doesn't mean that it gets connected by a cable. But they'll remove them anyhow. But the cables on the wall, that's a bit hard. So they don't want to use a lot of CGI, they just want to distract us not to notice the cables. So they're gonna use a system of ropes as a distraction. We just think that there's some ropes there. And that's it. My wife is a costume designer and she worked as a dresser for extras on the set. Designers,
And they
that's
just
it.
added this
Yes,
there.
they put that inside and that's it. Now, when they're filming these scenes, they film in the morning. And everything that happens on this side with Serdontos and all that, 30 shots of everything, the entire morning is gone. They're filming this in the afternoon, but it's happening in the same time, isn't it? So they film this in the morning with morning shadows, and they film this in the afternoon with morning shadows. What does that mean? Here we have the north.
We were visualizing how the shots were taken and eternally screaming because we were standing on the very spot that the crew once stood. How can
And for Jamie, nice guy, open for
He's also
more
good looking.
options. Sorry?
He's too good looking.
Yeah, especially without one hand, yeah.
Without one hand.
Now, for
How can one not pinch oneself realizing that this is the very spot where Sansa plays games with Shay or has a conversation with Littlefinger, and the final episode where the Stark siblings with Jon are spotted for the last time? With the handbook that the tour guide brought, it was easier to recall the episodes or a certain scene in particular.
actually watching. The stone here and the stone here is real. The one around the doors, it's not. It's a cardboard wall. You can even see the different color. But who's watching that?
So this is
It's right there. You see the edge here and the edge here. See the edges there?
are just those.
Hey, very good eye. Very good. Most people don't notice that, but I thought.
or was it?
Yes, they've left it for the set. They wanted something to use. And what's the key thing? If they want to use something that is already inside,
We all know how edits can transform a place. Now, this is the place where Cersei works down the Walk of Shame, except for the fact that there is no cape which it destroyed.
Shame.
yes, this time, for 30 times, Lena Headey, our Cersei, she's walking down the stairs. But for 30 times, it's Rebecca walking down the stairs. It's a body double.
An interesting fact the guy shared was the makers wanted the Wall of Shame around the cathedral, which was totally rejected by the mayor. There have been many tweaks in the show, like this one where Sansa runs through a door which in reality is the door to a children's park, and the bushes placed in the walls were just a way to hide cables.
Here, and she runs through the small doors right there. Sorry, you. Yes.
Oh, which is the door? That one?
Yes. Filmed from that direction to here. Now I've seen a
Sadly, we couldn't sit on the iron throne or sail in one of Westeros boats because it was off-season, but the fact that we had the city to ourselves was calming than to become one of the crowds in the peak season.
This same place became Nottingham. They were filming the newest Robin Hood movie. Did you watch that one maybe? Don't. Now, in Nepal, you guys...
Sadly, we couldn't sit on the iron throne or sail in one of Westeros boats because it was off-season, but the fact that we had the city to ourselves was calming than to become one of the crowds in the peak season. A little lunch by ourselves at the Bay of Blackwater while eating pizza and waiting for Golden Company to bring elephants for Cersei's defense. The guide said that Dubrovnik was initially chosen to be filmed as Karth, but when they visited the city they knew it would be King's Landing.
She runs around it, she disappears and ends up in a dark room with dragons.
Where she sees the throne. No, she doesn't see
That's,
the throne.
that's not really true. Season 2, she's in cart, they're stealing the dragons from her.
But the city is much more than the location for shooting movies or series. It's the representation of ancient architecture and culture. The city that was once left into rubbles with the most devastating earthquake in 1667 and yet rose to construct the most beautiful walls and buildings that still stand strong today. The city with oldest pharmacy in the world, most hospitable people, baroque architecture and natural attractions. It's a living museum in itself. However, we choose to remember it as King's Landing that the Mad Queen burnt into ashes. Dum 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 dum.